Well, hello, friends. I had a very interesting experience the other day because I put a post up on authormedia.social, which is a wonderful site for authors trying to improve their craft. Because I did a little bit of a vibe coding project. And if you don't know what vibe coding is where you use LLMs, large language models, that also are trained on coding and use them to create typically HTML, cool little projects that you would do as a coder without having to know code. So I made a thing for my website. This is xavierschwindt.com. This is my website as an author. I have a bunch of free stuff up on here. You can check my progress, which is, one of the number one ways, one of the number one reasons people visit your website. But I made this. And so this is a 3D model kind of my fictional universe's solar system. And I thought it's kind of cool. It's not realistic and it's not as great as I thought it could be. But I put up a brief post over on authormedia.social just kind of asking why aren't more authors doing this and putting these on their websites? Because this could be really cool. I can see so many incredible ways that authors could use this to really improve their website engagement and create CTAs. So I need to adapt this and create another version that'll work better for my audience because, so many people view stuff on their iPhones. This is not compact well. The buttons are kind of hidden, but essentially you're able to pause the orbit, you're able to read these little slides, and this walks you through the cosmology of my universe, which is really fun. It shows some biblical themes there. I've verses. My brand is not explicitly Christian, but it does have a lot of Christian themes. Maybe it is a little bit explicitly Christian, who knows? I know, but it is approachable by atheists is what my goal is. You can restart the journey and you can go through these slides and you can follow the planets, you can follow events in the cosmology, the fall of my universe essentially, migration, the exile from the Garden of Eden, the flood stories, different mythological stuff, and then you go down into current era. This is a part that I want to really fix because it doesn't look that great 3D wise. But then at the end here, this is the coolest thing that I think we're able to do as authors nowadays with this tool of vibe coding is create these experiences that lead to a CTA. So the call to action with this was specifically to go and lead the viewer to my current web novel. This one is actually one I'm taking down currently, but I need to update that. But that is what I made. And so I posted this and I was like, why aren't more authors doing this? And I got an incredible amount of engagement. So I said I would do a video walking you through the process of making one of these. And so we're going to do that. So I have a prompt here and I'll have this over with the line of comments or the string of comments that's been going on authormedia.social. And I will also try to put it in the YouTube video description as well. But I'm going to be using Claude today to do this. So here's a new Claude tab. And we're just going to take this prompt and we're going to copy it. I'm holding the mic because this is not my usual setup, so I'm only using one hand. And what we do is we are just going to drop this right into Claude. And so there are sections here, and I'm just going to read the prompt for you. So I'm telling Claude, you are an expert web developer and digital marketer, specializing in creating immersive, interactive website experiences for authors. Your expertise includes storytelling-driven features, audience engagement, mechanics, and strategically placed CTAs that convert without feeling pushy. My author brand. And now here's where you're going to have to do a little bit of work and insert different things. So genre, your specific genre. And it has, I do not write dark fantasy romance, but if you write dark fantasy romance, you put that, try to be specific about these things that you're putting in. So the more context you're giving the AI, the better that is going to be in this case. So let's say for me, noble dark fantasy, YA to adult. My brand motto, it actually has mine already in here, which is stories that hurt and heal. And that's a good thing. The more you use these tools, the more it's going to understand you and come up with better, more custom suggestions for your site, which is going to be awesome. World building levels. Obviously, if it's the normal world, then you're going to probably put 1. But for me, I'm going to put 10 because I did an entire cosmology and I have like a Silmarillion volume that I wrote for myself and for my philosophy teacher. Comparable authors. This one is just, you can put in for more context for the AI. Let's just say for me, Pierce Brown, and I'm going to misspell these, so please don't kill me in the comments. You could say Pierce Brown, Andrew Peterson, and let's go with one other, let's say Brandon Sanderson. I want to be like Brandon Sanderson. I'm not. I could even be really presumptuous and put Patrick Rothfuss, but we're not going to be that presumptuous. Your target audience. This one is not one that I had initially, but I thought would actually be quite good. So you can just put, casual fantasy readers. You can put whatever. If you are a patron of novel marketing, or rather author media, which is Thomas Umstattd Jr.'s wonderful company and resource. He runs the Novel Marketing Podcast, as most of you know if you're watching this from the authormedia.social. He has a great tool in the patron toolbox, which is the target audience, or the Timothy Finder. And if you have that report, I would recommend you just put that in here. For now, I'm just going to say general YA to adult fantasy readers, period. Unique brand elements. So themes, tropes, let's say grief, shame, inner darkness. So those are all the things that I have in my latest book that I'm working on currently, that I'm launching actually in 3 weeks-ish. So now we go into task, generate 20, and this is what the AI is going to be doing for us based upon the information we put in. I'm actually going to clarify that this is not as applicable. You could even skip this step. You might actually want to do that so that it doesn't really doesn't take too much, because sometimes it'll really get hooked on some elements of your prompt and then really stick to those instead of what's really important. So maybe just skip the unique brand elements, and I'll improve this prompt before I put this video out. So the task that the AI is going to be doing for us, that is to generate 20 innovative interactive website embed ideas that, 1, reflect my unique brand identity and couldn't work for just any author. 2, include natural, non-intrusive CTAs, call to actions, newsletter sign-up, book purchases, sample chapter downloads, etc. 3, feature storytelling or narrative elements that engage visitors emotionally. 4, are technically feasible as website embeds. Consider both simple and advanced options. 5, increase visitor engagement and time on site. 6, create shareable moments that visitors want to return to or tell others about. And I think number 6 is really where a lot of the potential is going to lie, because we see if there's such a cool experience on a website, you want to share that with your friends. Take the Harry Potter website experience, for instance. If you can go and get your house, like I went and took the test, I'm a Gryffindor officially, according to J.K. Rowling's website. I have a wand that is like a Hollywood, I think it's like 12 inches or something, and my Patronus is a doe, which is all very close to Harry Potter, which is very disturbing for me. But that's such a cool experience because it's so rigged, but it's also something that I can take on as a fan. And so I would recommend that as the experience we're trying to give our readers as well, because we want them to come back, we want them to share. And so these tools are a way for us to not just engage with the intention of a CTA, but also to encourage them to share in what we have made as creator to those enjoying that, because that is our role. Our role is to immerse the reader and engage them and bring them into these worlds that we've created. 6 is really important here. We also have down here, for each idea, provide the name, the description, etc., CTAs. All right, let's just go ahead and hit go. Let's see what pops out here in a second. I actually pay for Claude, so you might have to do a couple sessions with it. On the free plan, you'll be very limited time-wise. It's basically unlimited on a weekly basis for you as a paying member. I would recommend paying for whatever AI you choose to use. I'm getting into doing author CTA work right now, trying to do, not CTA, VA, virtual assistant, author assistant work. I'm 16. I really think that's a fun thing to do because I get to learn from authors, etc. But I view investing in an AI kind of like that. This Claude is essentially my personal VA, and as soon as I can afford a human VA, I will do that. But for now, this is what I use to manage like my company's budding animation studio, our game design studio, my publishing company in general. This is what I use to manage that and keep track of that. So mainly it's just a great tool to have. All right, so here are the ideas that it spat out. We have the grief compass. This one's interesting. This would work a lot more for, the grief compass would work a lot more for maybe a nonfiction book. See, this is what I'm saying. It perseverates over one idea that you have in your prompt. So I would leave out possibly those things. Shadow self-portrait generator. Questions of their own inner darkness, fears, and shames. This could actually be really interesting because it's asking your readers to come and be raw. And so when you do that, you're also inviting them to share in something or to share something themselves that is not necessarily something they would share normally. So that is interesting. You're giving them something of a unique experience towards themselves through your fiction. Wounded King's Choice, a brief branching narrative. I was talking with Thomas Umstattd Jr. over the comments on the post that I mentioned this, and he said that interactive fiction is probably where we're going to see a lot of this, and I agree. My company's, we're starting an edutainment department where our goal is to essentially make education really, really accessible by going through and having textbooks be run through an AI that processes everything and then turns it right into a interactive fiction that is custom to every student and lets them walk through and learn everything as they would in the textbook at the same rate, maybe even faster with better comprehension, because storytelling just increases that like crazy. But I think as a person who's actually written, like I've written 50,000 words of interactive fiction one period of my life, this is what's really interesting. And I think this is what we're going to see a lot more of, being embedded into websites for authors. Look out for that. I'll probably make a video on doing that specifically once I figure it out myself. Let's see here. And you can always just tweak your prompt and tell it something better. Your true rank, a quiz that determines rank in your fantasy world's nobility system. All right, let's go ahead and do this because this is kind of like the Gryffindor quiz. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go ahead and paste, and we're going to say, give me, typing with one hand here, 5 different variations of this idea. And I think this is what's really cool because you don't just decide on one thing, and you can go through and iterate that process and see what is the best idea that you have available to you. And obviously, if you have your own idea, like what I had over here with this, go ahead and do that because that'll get you more experience and you know exactly kind of what you're going for. This is not a finished version. I can really polish this up, but there are elements of it that I really like the soul slide, which is here. You know, Phithro, as Aurelius now named himself, pursued the exile still when his sister Sarlanian came bearing Anselmo's summons to repent. His wrath consumed him. With the bleedings he forged chains and cast her into a dying star's heart. Soul, the burning prison. Her cries are flames that do not cease. You know, that's a fun little world building thing. And that was fun for me because I've written like a 20,000 word cosmology version of that. So, you know, feel free to iterate. And if it's your own idea, that is probably better than what this AI is going to spit out. The council's judgment, the heir's inheritance. We're just going to go with the first option. Trials of Ascension instead of static quiz, series time. Yeah, this is interesting. Let's go with this. One of this. And then you're just going to paste that in and go ahead. And really, it's iterating. It's all about making very small improvements. It's like Atomic Habits, you know, very, very small improvements that lead to the biggest gain. And I think that is what we do as authors. Rarely are we going to be the author who has a New York Times bestseller just out of nowhere. You know, it's the 5-year plan to become a bestseller overnight. So this is just going to go ahead and it's going to code and it'll pop back out with something like this. So if we actually go to my website internally, this is what it looks like. It's an embed. And if we look here, we can actually see the code. It's just an HTML and it's all built just right into here, pasted very easily. And I had to actually tweak it so that it wasn't a scroll based. I had it at one point where you would scroll and it would change slides, but then it would appear, slides would appear up here as soon as you open the website. So that was not what I wanted. So I actually we're going to embed this one and I'll show you how to do that if you're using Squarespace. There's been a lot of talk in the author industry about using WordPress. I know, as I said, Thomas Umstattd Jr. is a person we're going to mention a lot. He's the best. He's been in the industry forever, it seems. He's the wizard grandfather who still looks in his 20s of novel marketing. So he has recommended WordPress and Divi a lot. I'm not a huge fan. I've worked with almost all, it feels like every single website tool, website builder and host, so like Hostinger, SiteGround, and now I'm just using Squarespace because I just like it more. You know, I used Webflow, I used Framer, I used all these different things, and for me, Squarespace has the most customizability. It's very customizable. It has all these really fun features that you can use. You can do all sorts of crazy things, and it's just pretty cheap comparatively to other possible plans. All right, so now the code has been written. And we have the first version. And so obviously this looks not terrible, but it does not look polished. It doesn't fit my theme on my website. I do like this. It's got your countdown, trying to time you to force you. So you're newly appointed commander, your soldiers report, etc. Your second command whispers. So essentially just giving you options. And then it's switching slides. So I'm just going to randomly click through this and see what it gives me. And I have no idea if this is actually has any algorithm to it, if it has any hard path that might save. So I don't know if you choose certain things, it'll give you certain outcomes, but I'm assuming that there is an element to it. It's got a dark fantasy aesthetic according to this. I really like the timer, although it does give your reader a little bit of or your viewer a little bit too much pressure in my opinion. So yeah, I got the commander. So I guess it does have a path here. Through the trials is what it's doing. You can put a character card here, that is actually kind of fun. Read the Crown of Thorns. Okay, yeah, you can add your CTAs here, join our readers. I'm not sure what that is, but you can do all these fun things with this. So let's just say, set the mic down for a sec. So basically I'm completely changing it, and I told it let's do an interactive fiction story with 15 slides, with a white clean background with black text and clean mechanics, going over a soldier who is resurrected over and over to fight off the darkness, with multiple endings and the possibility to do something heroic and inherit the right of a godlike entity whose role is to die every day in a ceremony to hold back the darkness invading that the soldiers fight against and to make sure that the soldiers are resurrected. So essentially that's the plot of the book that I'm writing in like 2 months. And let's just see what it gives us for this. All right, sorry about that. I just got really tired of holding the mic with my hand and not being able to type fast. So it's been about 5 minutes and it was able to go through and write all the code. You can open up the code here in the code view, and it's got about 786 lines of HTML, which is pretty good. I've had it go, I'm not quite sure what the limit is. I've had it go to a couple thousand lines, which is kind of ridiculous. But here is what it gave me. And so let's just say, I don't really want to go through and really tweak this. I took to make this one, I think I did like 15 different iterations and quite a few versions of it. So what I essentially did was you repeat dying in this interactive fiction, which makes it just 15 slides, a lot easier to handle with your different paths because it's, very short and you can repeat your death. So it's very replayable in that sense. So let's just say I can copy this. And let's go to over here and we can test it out. So I have a embed set up right here. We'll double click that. We'll put in code snippet and embed our data. Here we go. Okay, that is not the code. Here's the code. Copy. There we go. All right, so now there's the code. I'm not quite sure what it did to my website. It's quite weird, but you're going to have this stuff happen to your website as well, and you just really got to tweak it. So I'm going to tell it, rewrite the code so that it does not mess up my website. And we'll let that run. Awesome. So it took about 2 minutes for it to go through and rewrite the code to not break my website, essentially. And really, as I said, it's just iteration. If something's broken, tell it to fix it. Tell it the problem. Be as explicit as possible with your instructions to the AI. Pretend it's an employee that knows nothing. You have to acclimate it to who you are and to what you want to accomplish with this vibe coding thing. And so now, here we go. I'm able to take the mlist on, and we can download this as an HTML. So that means I can just click this and open it in a new tab and test it out. So HTML can open as kind of a web page, essentially. As we were waiting, I kind of messed around with it. Oops, seems that it's not quite working properly here, but we'll see if it either works here. Okay, see, and this is a nice thing. In the code, it allows you to see the problems. So what we can do is just copy that, paste it in, and tell it to fix it. All right. So it just ran through and fixed everything. So now I can copy this and we can paste it right back into the embed. I actually was able to play through it a little bit and I'm actually liking it. I think I'll probably do a version of this as a way of marketing that it's based off of. And so if I save the site and then we go, as soon as this is saved, so it's published with these changes, we can reload my actual website, xavierschwindt.com, and see if it interfered. So we can keep going. And here it is. So it's kind of a bit large and gangly, so I might have to mess with that a little bit to make it work better with my site. You can see the contrast here between the white and the grayish white, or the almost like a slate color. What we can do is we can make the background transparent, or we can just make it that color by using a color selection tool. This is the one that I like to use. Just lets you pick a color, gives you the exact number. So I'm going to actually tell it to go ahead and give the color, and it'll be able to do that. So let's test this out while we're at it. So I kind of like the story. It's kind of fun. It goes through the book the premise of the book pretty well. It could act as a really good CTA, even if not on the homepage, perhaps on a dedicated book page, though you'd have to be very clear about what it is. It's not the actual book, it's simply something that is related to the book and engaging with the book. The problem is when I click a button, it does go all the way, scrolls me up to the top of the screen, so I could also go ahead and tell it, hey, this is happening, let's make that stop. So, I survived, yay, in the interactive fiction. So now I'm going to the dawn ceremony, and I got the world building pretty okay because I've put in my outlines actually to the AI, although it's a little bit cheesy the way it's doing it. Execution is everything really when it comes to writing. So it's offering, keeper of the burdens, etc. But really there you have it for vibe coding. You can go through and just iterate, tell it to do better and make things work better. So see, there is the background now, and I can just copy this and we can embed it, and it should be the same color as our background. So let's do that. There we go. Now if we save, it should blend seamlessly into what we already have. Let's see here. There we go. So now it looks like it's just another part of this slide. I really like this death counter. That's kind of cool. But there you have it. That is what vibe coding is. Let me know if you have a project that you think would work really well with this. Really endless possibilities here. I'm very excited to try this out a little bit more, to adapt this to fit your website. If you would like me to do this for you, email me at xavierschwindtwrites at gmail.com. I believe I have my email on my website down here at the footer. You can also give me a call if you'd like. And I would be happy to build this for you for very, very cheap. Do this fun stuff. I hope this was helpful. This was very rambly and very specific and niche, but I hope it was enjoyable. I hope it helps you become a better author in the long run. So thank you for tolerating me and for being interested in this sort of thing. Blessings.